I am a hyper-realistic painter. There is something wrong with my neighbor's anatomy. If you're reading this, pay very close attention. I don't have much time, and neither do you, especially if you live in a small town that looks like a margarine commercial set. My name is Emma. I'm a visual artist. My specialty is hyper-realism. To paint the world realistically, you have to dissect it with your eyes. You don't look at a face and just see a face. You see how the zygomatic muscle pulls the skin, how veins react to temperature, how light reflects off the moisture of the eyeball. I see the anatomy beneath the surface. That's exactly what doomed me. I moved to Silver Creek about a month ago. I bought a small shop downtown to set up my studio. The town was stunning. Pastel-colored houses, immaculate gardens, a comforting silence. It seemed like the perfect place for someone methodical and solitary like me. My neighbor to the right, the man from House 42, was the first to welcome me. A young guy in his 20s, always wearing neatly pressed shirts. "Welcome to Silver Creek," he said, standing exactly at the border between our lawns. His smile was wide, his teeth white. "We value silence here. Order is fundamental." He was polite. But as a painter, something about the anatomy of his face immediately bothered me. When a person genuinely smiles, the muscles around the eyes contract the famous crow's feet. His smile only used the muscles of the jaw and neck. The rest of his face was dead, too relaxed. But I brushed it off. People are weird. Things started to fall apart in my second week when the normality of Silver Creek began to fail right in front of me. The baker and the crush. I used to go to the local bakery every morning. Mr. Higgins, the owner, was a robust man who always greeted me with an exaggerated wave. One Tuesday, I was having my coffee at the corner table, sketching the counter. Mr. Higgins was restocking the display case with a heavy iron tray full of bread. The floor was damp. He slipped. The tray fell with a deafening metallic crash, and I saw perfectly the moment his right hand was crushed between the weight of the iron and the marble edge of the counter. The sound of bones breaking was like thick branches snapping in a fire. His index and middle fingers bent backward at a 90-degree angle. Any human being would have screamed until they passed out. Mr. Higgins made no sound. He slowly stood up. His face still carried the exact same placid smile from 10 seconds earlier. He looked at his mangled hand. Then, with his left hand, he picked up the tray, completely ignoring the broken fingers now dangling loosely, held only by torn skin. I stopped breathing. My instinct was to get up and scream for an ambulance, but my eyes locked onto his face. His face was smiling, but his eyes were bloodshot. His pupils were fully dilated, like black pits of pure panic. And while his lips remained stretched upward, a single thick tear rolled down his face. That man was in excruciating pain. He was in absolute shock. But his body wasn't responding to his brain. His body kept arranging the bread in the display, using his broken fingers, staining the loaves with blood, smiling the entire time. I grabbed my bag, left money on the table, and walked out slowly. I wanted to scream, but something told me it was better to stay quiet. Labyrinth of perfection. After what I saw in the bakery, panic stopped being a weight in my stomach and became a scream trapped in my throat. I didn't think. I didn't pack. I just threw myself into my car, my sweaty hands slipping on the steering wheel, and slammed the accelerator until the engine roared in protest. I needed to leave. I needed something dirty, something broken, something that wasn't the sick perfection of Silver Creek. But the road was impossible. I drove in a straight line for 40 minutes at 100 kilometers per hour, but the scenery didn't change. It repeated. I saw the same white fence with a dew stain pass me 10, 20, 30 times. The same garden gnome with a red hat stared at me every 3 kilometers. The asphalt was so smooth it felt like I was floating in a vacuum, trapped in an endless loop of peach-colored houses surrounding me like the walls of an asylum. I screamed inside the car, punching the dashboard, tears blurring my vision. Where was the highway? Where was the real world? That's when I saw him. He was standing right in the middle of the road, a thin man wearing an immaculate gray suit without a single crease, despite the wind. I slammed the brakes so hard the smell of burnt rubber filled the cabin, but he didn't blink. He didn't move. I rolled the window down just a centimeter, enough to feel the air of Silver Creek air that smelled like synthetic flowers and something metallic like dried blood. Trying to leave us, Emma? His voice had no timbre, it didn't come from lungs. It felt projected directly into my skull. He tilted his head sharply, like a broken bird. His eyes were two dull glass spheres, dilated until the black swallowed the iris. My voice failed, a pathetic, high-pitched sound. The terror was so intense my bladder ached. I felt like if he took one step, my heart would just stop. I forgot. Paints. My stock ran out. I was going to get solvents, and cadmium red. There's none here. Silence stretched for what felt like hours. He stood still, lips sealed in that unnatural half-smile. Then a sound came from inside him, a wet click, like mucus-covered gears shifting. His face relaxed, horribly. The skin of his cheeks wobbled like gelatin before settling back into place. "Oh, Emma, no need to trouble yourself," he murmured. His smile widened so much. I saw the skin stretch to the point of tearing. Silver Creek is the perfect place. We have everything you need here. Absolutely everything. Go back to town. The supply store has just been restocked. You'll find the exact color you're looking for. He stepped aside but kept staring at me as I shifted into reverse with violently trembling hands. I couldn't look away. I felt that if I blinked, he'd be in my back seat. I drove back to my neighborhood like a prisoner returning to a cell. Every house looked like it had 1,000 eyes behind closed curtains. The town was no longer a refuge. It was a stomach, and I was being slowly digested. The neighbor and the notebook, my neighbor from House 42, he seemed perfectly ordinary. A bit too polished, perhaps, but I thought he was like me, trapped in this agonizing pretense. That morning, I was on my porch when I saw him cross the lawn. He was coming toward me with something in his hands. "Good morning, Emma," he said, stopping at the foot of the stairs. He had a wide smile, the kind you see in toothpaste commercials. "How is the settling in going? I hope the town is being generous to you." "Everything is great," I replied, forcing a friendly tone, trying to stay calm. "People are very attentive. I'm glad. We look out for each other here," he said. He held out an object to me. "I found this and thought you could put it to good use. It seems like something someone with your talent would appreciate." It was an old, worn leather notebook. When I reached out to take it, my gaze moved up to his face to thank him. And that was the moment my world stopped. His left eye, which a second ago was focused on me, began to twitch violently. The eyelid fluttered frantically, almost electrically, while the eye itself rolled wildly in its socket. But the right eye remained perfectly still, staring at me with a terrifying calm. Then, his smile unraveled. The right side of his face stayed stretched in that expression of flawless happiness, but the left side simply collapsed. The cheek muscle fell as if it had detached from the bone. The corner of his mouth slumped, and the skin went limp, lifeless. For a moment, he looked like a wax mask melting under heat. It was biologically impossible. I felt a sharp cold run up my spine. My hand went numb. Out of pure desperation and the fear that he would do something if I reacted, I took the notebook. "Thank you." My voice came out as a trembling whisper. The moment my fingers touched the leather, his face snapped back to normal. Instantly, the twitching stopped, the smile reformed, and he went back to being the kind man from before. "Enjoy it, Emma," he said, and turned away, walking back with precise steps. I sat on the couch and, with my heart still racing, I opened the notebook. It's no use calling the police. They already know. They smile while they listen to you scream. I feel the cold rising up my legs. I'm losing movement. My right hand is writing this, but I can no longer feel my fingers. It's as if something is pushing me out of my own skin. I can't close my eyes anymore. They won't let me close my eyes. And then the final paragraph, written with such force that the paper was marked on the other side. I have completely lost control of my body. I look at myself in the mirror, and it's not me who is smiling. I am just the clothes they wear to walk around. If you're reading this, run. But don't let them notice that you know. Smile back. Pretend. It's your only chance. I threw the notebook on the table. That man out there, he was begging me for help through those pages, while his body handed me the gift with a smile. I was trapped in a perfect city of perfect faces. The horrifying truth of Silver Creek. From that day on, I started cataloging the errors. I noticed that residents bought food, but their trash bags only contained rotted food. They didn't eat, they just staged the purchase. At night, there was only a deathly silence or the sound of sharp, heavy movements. My neighbor had an obsessive routine. He left every night at exactly 3 a.m., walked toward the woods, and returned at 4 o'clock. Last night, I decided to act. I hopped the wooden fence. His back door wasn't locked. His house was a sham. Too clean. No signs of real use. It was as if someone had assembled a perfect version of a home, without ever having lived in it. At the end of the hallway was a door, and the air coming from down there was cold, damp. It had a strong metallic smell, like wet rust, mixed with something organic and far too sweet, the smell of meat forgotten for too long. I pushed the door open. The stairs creaked. When I reached the last step, I needed a few seconds to understand what I was seeing. The walls were covered in dark, root-like structures. They pulsed. They breathed. In the center, there were monitors showing perspectives. First-person views. I wasn't watching people. I was seeing through them. Then I heard the audio. Hundreds of overlapping human voices. Screams. Prayers. Begging. They weren't just sounds. They were thoughts. People were still inside, conscious, trapped, watching their bodies continue, smiling. The neighbor from House 42. My legs gave way. I leaned on the cold metal table. What I was seeing was impossible, but the sound in the headphones, that chorus of panicked minds, made it all too real. Then I noticed the clipboard. Lost among organic cables and pulsing veins. At the top, there was a printout of an online forum, a digital cry for help. The report spoke of a city that was too perfect, of neighbors who paused in the middle of a sentence. Every paragraph was a mirror of my own life. The author mentioned a man named Daniel. He spoke of the fear of being watched. The text ended abruptly. Right below the last printed line, someone had handwritten a single word. The black ink was thick and aggressive, neutralized. I turned the page. On the back was a technical file, like a medical record for a property, and there was the name, Ethan. The world stopped. The neighbor from House 42, that frozen smile, that half of his face that collapsed. It wasn't a nervous tic. It was Ethan trying to fight his own muscles, while the parasite forced him to be friendly. I had been standing right in front of him. I looked into his eyes and smiled while he was in there, screaming behind a mask of flesh that no longer obeyed him. The only way to survive. I ran straight back to my house. I tried to think of a way for this to be just a nightmare, but the truth is visceral. The road loops. The town is one organism. If one knows, all know. The only way is to pretend, to smile and keep painting perfect pictures for conscious corpses. Until I find a way out. Because now I know the worst truth. Death doesn't exist in Silver Creek. They don't kill you. They keep you alive. Forever. a passenger inside your own body. If my next post sounds calm, peaceful, praising this perfect town, don't believe it. It won't be me anymore. It will mean I've started screaming in silence, just like Ethan.